12 News is your local election headquarters. Now we continue our Where They Stand series on WPRI.com. I'm Raymond Bakari. Joining us today is Cranston Mayor Ken Hopkins, who is one of two Republican candidates running for the mayor of Cranston this year. Mayor, it's good to have you on.
Good morning, Ray. Nice to be back.
And 60 seconds or less, why are you seeking re-election?
Well, it's a continuation of the work that we've done for the last 4 years. I've lived in the city for over 40 years in Garden City, raised my family there, and there's some more work that I have to get finished. I mean, I started out with my Main Street concept, redoing Rolfe Street and Patuxent Village. Now I'm working on Knightsville. We built a brand new school at Garden City. We've got a secondary school, Eden Park, that needs to be completed. And we're building a brand new school on the eastern side of the city over at Gladstone. So the projects that I've started, I'd really like the opportunity to finish them.
Speaking of some of those projects, I was actually playing into my next question because I want to talk about education for a moment. It's always a key issue on the municipal level, and we're seeing the movements like you mentioned. There was the $40 million bond that was approved for 5 major projects throughout the city, such as fixing Cranston West's parking lot, replacing Cranston East's boiler system, among other things. And last I read, over 50% of that newly passed budget is going to go toward the school department. Looking ahead, though, what other policy goals do you support to continue to further improve the educational outcomes?
Well, I work with the superintendent on a weekly basis, basically trying to see what the needs are of the schools that the cities can help with. My relationship with a lot of the teachers still stands. A lot of them that I worked with for 27 years seems to, I want to make sure that the teachers have what they need. The other big thing is our emphasis on this, the Laborers Academy, where we have now purchased the facility, and not everybody needs a basic education where they're going to go on to college. Some kids, the trades work for them, and we've put in programs educationally by working with our laborers union in the city and the trade schools to do on-site type of activities. So we launched a program to fix the sidewalks in the city by having our laborers and the kids in the school come over and work together. They're learning a good trade. And I went over to Cranston East for the plumbing trade that's being taught over there. So I think there's a lot of pathways that Cranston is ahead of the forefront. The medical pathways at Cranston West, the hospitality pathways, electrical and plumbing. A lot of the kids that are going through high school now don't need the traditional school that we went through. They need something where they can work with their hands and think about the process and then get out there. And we created a program with Electric Boat where kids came in, 30 of them filled out applications. They were seniors at Cranston East. And they got jobs working down an electric boat right out of high school. And these are good paying jobs. So that's part of the education process that I want to be involved in.
Shifting over to infrastructure for a moment, specifically when it comes to flooding, as recently as late June, a couple of streets saw flooding when there was heavy rainfall. Some streets that saw flooding during that latest instance of severe weather was Cranston Street. Another one was where Oak Lawn and Wilbur Avenue meet. Mm-hmm. Reservoir Avenue has also seen some gnarly flooding last summer. If reelected, how are you going to go about upgrading the infrastructure in that regard?
Well, we've started that process already. We're studying the culverts that are located throughout the city. We've been very active in areas that have been flooding. What we found out, though, was that the infrastructure, which was built back in the 60s, just can't handle the change in weather that we've had lately. So the piping that's below, if you get 1 inch of rain per hour, it might be able to handle that. But when we get 2 to 3 inches, the underbelly of the roads just doesn't have the capacity to move the water. So we're working with some engineers. Our public works engineer is trying to design some new waterways other than the traditional pipes, possibly building some type of drainage pits. You see that off Route 37 now there, Topgolf, where they've created new drainage pits to direct the water out of the system and into different areas. So I think that's something I've worked with the federal government pretty well with. Congressman Magazina Senator Reid, Senator Whitehouse. They've all been willing to sit down and talk to us to give us some federal funds to address those issues. And our Public Works Department is doing that as we speak.
And I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Budlong Pool demolition and rebuilding. It's been closed for a few years now. According to the a recent update that was provided at a city council meeting not too long ago by your chief of staff, there's an expectation that the demolition and reconstruction will be done by May 2025. There was a point in time where we expected the pool to be done by 2024. So if you're elected to another term, what will you do in your power to ensure that this pool is finally done and ready to go on time?
Yeah, well, this recent week, Ray, we awarded the bid, so that was the process that we had to get through. We did have some roadblocks in between, some of them by political opposition from the other parties that tried to put their their take or their spin on why it was such a historic pool. But they only gave me $4.7 million to build it. So you can't have a 30,000 square foot pool with only $4.5 million worth of money. It needed a lot more than that. The other thing is, in researching the pool, it was built on a floodplain back in the 30s. The water that's actually in that pool right now is underground water that comes back up. And the result is, when we put the bid out for engineers, part of building the new pool is to try to fix it so that it lasts for 40 or 50 years. Now, the previous administration was pumping 3 inches of water into the pool with a 3-inch hose every single day, 24 hours a day. The bills that were coming in to pay for water under the Providence water system were enormous. So we knew that there was something wrong with it, and my attitude was, I don't want to put a Band-Aid on it. I want to fix it for the next generation of people, and that's what we've started to do. The laborers that work for the city are basically taking apart some of the building itself, and we have certain historical regulations that we have to do with the building. And we're also going to have our laborers go over and break up the cement. That'll reduce some of the cost if we can do it in-house. And the bid that was awarded is now being reviewed by the Historical Society, and they're going to be starting construction very soon.
And just to further clarify for the viewer watching at home, you don't expect any additional roadblocks? We'll see it on time in May 2025?
Well, let's hope so. If we have another mild winter, I would expect it to be done. But the target date is the beginning of next summer.
Let's end things off by talking about another hot topic in Cranston, Costco. So there had been some buzz about Costco coming to the city for quite some time now. It hasn't happened yet, and it seems like it's stalled. So I'll give you a two-parter because you may have more information on this, being the current mayor. So what are you going to do to finally get Costco here, and is there any update?
Well, I can tell you this. Costco does not like political turmoil when it comes to building a new facility. And that happened with my opponent when they came out and started talking about why or why not Costco was coming in. So Costco did put a pause on it. There were a couple of lawsuits, one being the Mulligan's property, where Costco originally wanted to go, and I definitely opposed that. I wanted open space recreation, possibly the development of a new neighborhood over there. Then there was an issue with the Capianato property next to Topgolf. And what we found out was that the regulations with Shaw's Market having territorial rights kept it from going into that spot. So as I looked around, we found the old prison up off Pontiac Avenue, which to me was an ideal spot because it's out of the neighborhoods, it's away from the public in terms of traffic, and it's almost identical to the Costco that's in Dedham. And I frequent that a lot. I'm a member of Costco. So would I like to see it? Absolutely. But right now, the developer of the property who owns the building and Costco have to get together and negotiate. So we've brought them together. At this point, I'm hopeful. I know we have all of the things that Costco needs in terms of like a 10-mile radius. They need about 250,000 people. I know there were rumors about Warwick. I've talked to the Warwick mayor, and they just don't have the land They were looking at the Christmas tree shop property, but that was since recently bought by Ocean State Job Lot. So Cranston's the ideal spot. Whether that takes place in the future, we'll continue to keep the door open. The one thing we did do was the owner of the property met with us and we rezoned that property. So now a big box store is available to come into it. We just don't know which one yet. But hopefully Costco will still keep an open mind to come into Cranston.
That's all the questions I have for this. Mayor, I want to thank you for giving us your time for this interview.
Ray, it's always a pleasure, and if I can do anything to support the city of Cranston, that's what I'm here for.
And thank you for tuning into this edition of Where They Stand. Remember, 12 News is your local election headquarters. We have additional candidate interviews and a voter guide available on WPRI.com. Raymond Bakari, 12 News.